Steve Gamache here with another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review. And the name is so long on these, I had to continue it to the next page. So these are the Takayuki Damascus Hammered VG-10 Kengata, or another word for bunka, 190 millimeter. It's that bunka type style. You'll see the style on these is a little different in that the choil, the back of the blade kind of goes forward, kind of an aggressive look. So it kind of mirrors, not quite the same angle, but it kind of mirrors that look for an aggressive kind of shape. So the core steel on these is VG-10 full stainless steel at a heat treat of around 60 Rockwell. Construction is a multi-layered stainless, soft stainless cladding, the Damascus pattern, and it's also got a random hammered pattern in it. So it's a very attractive line of knives. A buddy of mine has, I had him get a very similar knife to this, basically just the Santoku version of this, and I think it might be a 190 as well, 180 or 190. But performance on these is very respectable, and the steel sharpens up very nicely, so there's just a solid line of knives. The fit and finish is well done. So weight and dimensions on these will probably be pretty consistent from knife to knife. This one's 221 grams or 7.8 ounces, so it's got a little heft to it. The edge length is right about 201 millimeters, so it's fairly long. The 190, not quite sure where they're working with that, but it's got a pretty decent size length to it, about 7.8 inches. The overall length about 13.7. The spine is pretty much the same all the way down the blade, so it's 1.9 millimeters coming out of the handle, the bolster there, and then it pretty much just holds it all the way down. You make that turn on that reverse sword tip, and where it gets thin is with the grind. So there's your grind, you can see that kicking in, and so the tip is reasonably thin on this and does a pretty decent job. The blade height is pretty generous at 50 millimeters tall, so there's lots of clearance here. The handle is, it's not the widest handle in the world, but it's got some, I should say, you know, it's a little bit more narrow that way, a little bit wider that way, so it's got some, you know, size to it, so it should handle, pardon the pun, but a variety of hand sizes. So I'm kind of like medium, slightly small sided medium hands, and it's just fine. Bigger hands should be, you know, should like this as well. If you've got very, very small hands, you might think it's a little bit big, but if you're choking up on the blade, you're not doing that much with the handle anyway. This will accommodate a pinch grip very nicely right here. You got a clean flow right from the bolster in there, so it's a great spot for your finger. Balance point is just in front of that bolster, right about there. The handle is rosewood, and they've got a partial tang, so you'll see the tang come in at the top here and then not at the bottom, so that helps lighten that handle up a little bit and keep that balance point from being too far back. The look of these is really attractive. You can see all those layers. You can see the core steel at the edge. Nice random hammered pattern. You've got chiseled, I shouldn't say chiseled kanji. I just did some knives that had that, but you've got a screened on kanji and then logo and name on there. On the right side of the blade, you can see the contours coming off the blade flat where they start going towards the edge. So you can see that kind of shoulder. And it's not a super sharp shoulder. It kind of flows down. So these have... you know, these are respectable performers. So they wedge just a little bit, but not that much. And the food release is nice. So just a good solid line of knives. The spine is got just a little bit of polish to it. It's not really sharp at the edge. It's not super rounded, but it's not sharp, and neither is the choil here as well. So out of the box edge was very respectable. Good solid 6 out of 10 on my scale. So I think it's usable right out of the box. Here's the left side of your blade. So the hammer pattern is really cool on these. Helps with the food release as well. So let's see, cutting board. Let's take a look at it. So here we go. So the tips are pretty low, just the style of blade. So I'm not going to get real high on a rock. So I'm digging the tip in about right there. So it'll rock over low stuff. And you can see the blade is, the profile's kind of a gentle belly throughout, so not a real flat area. So this will do really well in push-pull cuts, very low rocking, not a super good chopper probably, but you could chop with some parts of the blade if you wanted to. But just a good solid line of knives, and an alternative, a little bit more esoteric shape. It looks really cool and kind of aggressive in the kitchen.